Better late than never. Good evening, Patriots. It's Brandon. What? Are we on, Rob? We're on. Great. Better late than never. Welcome to Walk Away with Brandon Straka. I'm your host, Brandon Straka, coming at you. What do we got for time? 10:07. Hey, here we go. So it's Monday. This is the week, y'all. This is the week has arrived, and here we are. This weekend is the Walkaway March on Washington, and I hope that you're as excited as I am. You know what's amazing? I'm surprisingly calm. I'm very calm, and you know why? Because we've been working so hard, day and night, for weeks and weeks and weeks. And this is, my handful of, volunteers on my team that we've had this dream, we've had this vision, we've had this mission for so long. And it's one of those things where you do all the work, you toil away, and then it's like I just feel ready. Like I feel so ready. I think everything's in place. The gala dinner is going to be incredible. I feel like we're at this place now where I can start being a little bit honest with everybody about some things that, for a while there, I was kind of like, I mean, when we first rolled out the gala dinner, let's see, geez, I don't even know when that was anymore, 5-6 weeks ago, whatever. I mean, those tickets were selling at a snail's pace at first. And there was a moment where a couple people on the team were like, should we start talking about canceling the gala dinner? And I was like, we are never canceling the gala dinner. I don't care if there's 5 people at the gala dinner will happen. Ladies and gentlemen, as of now, we are going to have more than 450 people at this gala dinner, and tickets are still on sale until midnight tonight. So we can still accommodate lots more. If you'd like to get a ticket, the gala dinner is going to be such a success, and I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. It's at Trump International Hotel. It's going to be in one of the grand ballrooms. We're going to have a VIP cocktail hour before the dinner in which you can have drinks and take pictures and do selfies with me and Stacey Dash and Buzz Patterson, Mason Weaver, Joy Vila. All the people on the speakers list are going to be there. It's going to be amazing. And then we're going to have our fantastic Walkway March and Rally the next day, Saturday, October 27th. I don't even have to say it's this Saturday. This Saturday is the March and Rally, the Walkway March and Rally. So if you go to walkwaymarch.com, we now have all of the information up about the March route that you guys have been asking for so long. I started to get to the point where I was afraid to even check Facebook anymore because you guys were getting you had your pitchforks and your torches and you're like, what's the March route? Tell us the March route. We couldn't tell you until we had every last little permit in place. And now we do. Every permit is signed. Everything is in order. We're so ready. So we're going to be meeting at John Marshall Park, which is very near the Capitol building in DC. You'll have to do a little Google search, but we're meeting at John Marshall Park. I highly recommend people start showing up around 11 a.m. That's what I'd say, because the opening rally is going to be there at John Marshall Park. We're starting promptly at 12 o'clock. Everything is going to be timed with military precision. Mostly because I have an enormous crew that's working, and if they go overtime, we're going to have to do a second GoFundMe, and I really don't want to go there. So everything is going to be precisely timed starting right at 12 o'clock for the opening rally at John Marshall Park. The opening rally is going to last about an hour, and then we're going to start marching, and we're going to do the Walkway March from John Marshall Park to Freedom Plaza. Yes, we are quite literally walking away from the Democratic Party and toward freedom, ladies and gentlemen. We are marching toward freedom. Away from liberal ideology, away from fake news, away from censorship, away from the lies and the manipulations and all of this crap that we've been watching take place for years, but especially these last 2 years with this new president and this new administration. We're walking away from all of it. We're walking towards freedom. Freedom Plaza, and the rally at the main rally is going to begin at Freedom Plaza at 2:30, and it's going to last until 5:30. We're going to have amazing speakers. We're going to have amazing music. We are going to have amazing remote speakers and videos. It's going to be such an incredible day. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows, of course, everyone is welcome to join us. And if you have not walked away from the Democratic Party, it doesn't matter. As I've been saying for weeks now, those of you who walk with those who walk away are really the most important people that need to be there, because people who are walking away, who have found their courage and found their bravery, and they've decided to walk away from liberalism, walk away from the Democratic Party. A lot of them are walking away from their friends, walking away from family, in some cases walking away from career opportunities, it's a scary thing. They need to know that they're not alone. They need to know that they're not walking away from all of this into what? A giant question mark. It's so important that those of you who walk with those who walk away show up that day. We need you to be there in solidarity and unity and support. I want to see you this Saturday at Freedom Plaza, starting at John Marshall Park. It'll get there around 11 a.m. And then we're going to walk to Freedom Plaza. It's going to be incredible. And then we're closing out the weekend with our closing brunch at Trump International with guest speaker Dinesh D'Souza. We've also sold over 400 tickets to our closing brunch. I'm gobsmacked. I'm amazed. I mean, I just think that this is going to be the most incredible weekend. And I want to see all of you there. I'm so excited that this is all come off the way that it's come off. As always, we would love your help and support. If you're able to contribute to our GoFundMe, please. We're still grassroots at this point. We're hoping to make a big, powerful statement this weekend. Hopefully attract some donors and, those people who come in and say, let's take it to the next level, but until that happens, it's just us. It's us doing all of this. So if you can make a contribution to GoFundMe or go to PayPal, paypal.me/US Minority, make a contribution to the campaign. And Rob and I, poor Rob and I, we're just eking by here doing our Monday show, and we really appreciate your love and support. If you're able to give us some love tonight on Super Chat, if you're able to contribute to our Patreon account, we love that because Rob and I love to eat food. We love electricity. We love indoor plumbing and all that stuff. We love it. We love it. So if you guys are able to help us out and support us in that way, so appreciated. What else do we have to talk about before we bring on our first guest? Rob, do you want to say something tonight? Do you want to talk to the people? Can they hear you right now? They can't hear. Okay. Well, Rob really does exist, and so he's kind of like Snuffleupagus at this point. Like I'm like Big Bird, and he's snuffy, and you're just gonna have to take my word for it. He really does exist. But someday you really are going to see and hear from Rob. Rob. I know they can't hear you. I know. But do you think someday, Rob, they'll be able to hear you? The people, if you believe, people just believe. One day you're going to hear from Rob. He's great. He's going to love it. He's going to take everything to the next level. It's going to be amazing. Let's go straight to my first guest tonight, since we're already getting a late start anyway, and I'm surprised she hasn't just left because we just sat here for 7 minutes trying to go live. My first guest tonight has an incredibly riveting story to tell about what has happened to her in the past with the Clintons, Bill Clinton in particular. She's going to tell us all about it tonight. She sort of came into the public sphere in the 90s when Bill Clinton was in office. And she very reluctantly, through a series of events, came forward to tell her story of a harrowing experience that she had with President Clinton in the 70s when he was then, I believe, the Attorney General of Arkansas. She'll be on in a moment and correct that if I'm wrong. But ladies and gentlemen, let's bring her on right now. I'm so happy tonight to be speaking with Juanita Broaddrick. Juanita, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Brandon. Nice to be here.
It's so wonderful to have you here tonight. Now, Juanita, people have been hearing, we've known about you in the public sphere, like I said, I think since the 1990s, but I want to kind of backtrack a little bit and tell people a little bit about who Juanita Broaddrick was before, even what the incident that sort of defined you in the public eye. You grew up, in a small town in Arkansas?
Yes, and I still live there today in Van Buren, Arkansas.
How many people in that town?
Oh, gosh, probably 30,000.
Oh, that's a big city, Juanita.
No.
Juanita, I grew up in O'Neill, Nebraska. We had 3,200 people. My graduating class from high school was 18 people.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. I think there was 60 in mine.
Oh, see? City girl. All right. So then, so you graduated from high school and you went on to nursing school.
Yes.
Right. And you've been a registered nurse. And then you, at one point, you were working in a nursing home.
Right. Well, no, I had worked for nursing homes prior to owning my own nursing home.
Right.
I opened my own nursing home in 1974, about 4 years before I met Bill Clinton, and really enjoyed it.
Well, and it was through your work in the nursing home that you met Bill Clinton. Isn't that correct?
Oh, right. Some of my friends, well, I'd seen his ads on TV where he was running for governor, and we all thought he was just absolutely fabulous and would do great things for Arkansas. But some of my friends went down to a volunteer meeting one evening and asked me to go with them. And so I went with them, signed up. And after my office hours, I would go around and take my young son with me, and we would go around and put up yard signs and hand out campaign material.
Now, Juanita, up until that point, were you a particularly political person?
Oh, not at all. I had never been involved in doing anything like that. And I had been working on the campaign approximately a month or a little less when the state office, campaign office, called me one day and said, Mr. Clinton's going to be in your area, and we'd like to know if he can come by and tour your nursing home. And boy, I thought that was great.
Oh, you must have thought that was so exciting.
Yeah, we all were. In that picture on the front of my book and on that poster back behind me, we all had on our Clinton for governor buttons, and we were so excited. And the day came, and he and his entourage came into the nursing home and was, you know, being introduced to the families and the residents. And then the newspaper asked for a photo op, and that's what you see in that picture on the front of my book. And after the photo op was through, he walks over to me and he starts his very spiel about, you know, he's very charismatic and he never loses eye contact with you. And he was asking me about the nursing home and about myself. And a little light went off in my head because we were struggling. I was having trouble paying bills. And it was because the reimbursement, state reimbursement Medicaid rate was so low. So I thought, you know, I'm going to tell him about this. If he becomes governor, maybe he can help us. So I start to tell him about it. And he sort of stops me and he says, are you ever in Little Rock? And I said, well, yes, my nurse and I'll be down there in about 3 weeks. And he said, well, call my campaign office and let's get together and talk about this. And listen, Brandon, that was so exciting to me that I would have his ear, you know, and he may be able to help the nursing home industry. So I told him that I would. So my nurse and I, on April the 24th, 1978, we drive to Little Rock. We check in the Camelot Hotel. And the next morning when we get up, I call his office. And the lady says, well, he's not here. And she gave me a number to call. I call the number. He answers the phone almost immediately. And I asked him if my nurse and I can come over to his campaign headquarters at noon because we have an hour off for lunch. And he says, you know, I'm not going to be there today. And then he says, why don't I come to your hotel now so we can talk about this? And I thought, that's great. I don't have to drive clear across Little Rock. So he says, okay, I'll meet you down in the Camelot coffee shop and I'll call your room when I get there. So I turn to Norma and I say, you go on to the meeting. And when I finish in the coffee shop, I'll be right on to the meeting. So I'm waiting in the room. And in about 20 minutes or so, the phone rings and it's Bill Clinton. And he says, you know, it's so crowded down here and there's reporters. He said, can we just talk about this and have coffee in your room? And I thought, yeah, I know that it alarmed me because I'd never been alone in a hotel room with a man I didn't know before. But we're talking about the Attorney General of my state. So I agreed and I let him come on up to my room. And what's so strange is Norma goes on to the meeting. I wait in the room. I order coffee to the room. And after they leave from bringing the coffee, I hear a knock on the door. I open the door and there stands Bill Clinton in dark sunglasses in a dimly lit hallway. And that sort of, that worried me just a little bit. And I mean, I can remember it worried me. But I tell him to come on in the room and I usher him over to the table where the coffee and all my files are sitting. And then he takes off his suit coat, lays it on the chair, and walks around the side of the table. And I begin to pick up my information and start to pour the coffee. And he says, come here just a minute. I want to show you something. So I walk around the table to where he's standing, and he's pointing to a little building down below. And he tells me that it's an old 1800 jailhouse that he wants to restore when he becomes a governor. But Brandon, as he points, he puts his arm around me and around my shoulder to point. And that makes me very uncomfortable, and I just start to back up from him. And as I back up, that's when he pulls me back to him and tries to start kissing me. And I just say, no, and I start around to the other side of the table. And that's when he grabs me and begins again. So that's when.
Now, Juanita, just very quickly, let people know too. You were married.
Yes, I was married. Yeah. And I told him no. And so then when he grabs me the second time, I start screaming and yelling. And that's when he pulls me close to him and he starts biting on my upper lip. Every time I let out a peep, he would bite on my upper lip. And not just barely bite, he would bite down hard. And it was very painful.
Okay, so what? That's a lot to unpack. What was going through your mind? Well, let's back up just a little bit and then get to the point where you're at right now. Okay, so you say you open the door. There he is in dark sunglasses. At any point, Juanita, did you have any indication whatsoever of what might be coming? Even if you felt a little alarmed, did you have any indication that it would turn into that?
Oh, no. No one knew about his reputation back in 1978. None of those rumors had gotten around. It was just, even though I felt uneasy, he was the Attorney General. I thought, nothing's going to happen. This man's the Attorney General. But when he started biting on my lip and then, of course, threw me backwards onto the bed, I screamed for bloody murder. And that's when it got worse. And he would bite down on my lip hard. And it frightened me. It was just, I can't even begin to tell you. I had a patient years before at a nursing home that I had worked at in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And she'd had a brain tumor. And she had chewed off, her top lip. And half of her bottom lip. And at the moment, that's what was going through my mind. Am I going to lose my lip?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I mean, what you're describing right now, Juanita, literally, the first thing that sort of popped into my mind was the sensation one might have if they were being attacked by a wild dog.
Yes, exactly.
I mean,
tearing at my clothing got ripped. I mean, it was, I feared for my life.
I mean, did you even have a sensation that you, at the moment when that was happening, I mean, did you feel like you were dealing with a human being that you could reason with and say, please, like, understand how frightened I am? Did you feel like you could reason with him at all at that moment?
I tried. And I just kept saying, please don't. And then when I'd scream, he'd start biting again on my lip. And he was such a big man. And during the attack, I couldn't hardly get a breath. And I thought I was going to die. I honestly thought. And after the rape was over, there I am sitting up on the side of the bed, absolutely boo-hooing. I mean, just crying out loud. And he does the strangest thing. As he gets up and straightens himself, he looks straight at me and he said, don't worry, I'm sterile. I had mumps when I was a boy. And I just cried that much harder because I thought, my God, that's what you had to say to me after you just raped me? And I'm still crying. And then he calmly walks to the door, puts on his sunglasses, and motions to my mouth and says, you'd better put some ice on that, and walks out the door. And I get up very quickly and go and lock the door, because my first thought was, my God, somebody's going to come in and get rid of the body. Because, Brandon, that's how I felt. I felt like a body.
Oh my God. I mean, so Juanita, when the rape was happening, did he finish?
Yeah.
He did. I mean, so he walks through the door and he says to you, you better put some ice on that. Do you think, did he know he raped you?
Oh, how could he not? I mean, I'm crying. My lip is swollen twice the size, and there's bleeding all underneath, and it's beginning to turn blue, and the blood is oozing out the side of my mouth. And he says, you better put some ice on that. It was horrible.
So what happened next?
Well, I locked the door, went back and laid down. I mean, I was in the most horrific state of shock. And I guess about 20 or 30 minutes passed, and all of a sudden I hear a knock on the door. And I'm frightened. I'm afraid to even go to it. But I walk to the door and look through the little peephole, and it's Norma Rogers, the lady that traveled with me. And I completely forgot about her. I mean, I was oblivious to where I was and what I was even there for. And I opened the door, and she sees me, and I just start crying all over again. Of course, she immediately gets ice from my mouth so we could try to get the swelling down. But she comes back in with the ice, and we sit on the end of the bed, and I tell her everything that happened, because she knew that I'd gone to the coffee shop to meet him and was supposed to come on to the seminar. And so we're sitting there, and she said, what do you want to do? And I said, oh, just take me home. So she helped me change clothes and packed all of our stuff up, and we went home. She drove me home.
Did it ever occur to you to call the police or to report it?
No. No one would have believed me. He was the police, Brandon. He was the attorney general. And he was also, his position regulated my nursing home. We were regulated through the attorney. He could have shut me down at a moment's notice. I just wanted to get home and forget it. But I did tell some other people. We told Norma's sister, Jean. She was also a registered nurse that worked for me. And then I told, I was married, but I was about to go through a divorce. And I told the man that I was having an affair with. And I told all about that on Dateline. Yeah. And I even told Bill Clinton, because he made the comment like, well, we're both married. And I said, yes, but I have other things going on in my life. And I told 3 other people, because it was people I would be in contact with. And it was about 3 or 4 days before I could before the swelling went down and I could cover the bruising with makeup.
What did you tell your husband at the time about your lip?
Oh, I told my husband, well, we weren't even speaking unless it had something to do with our son. We were separated. And when I did see him, I just told him that a revolving door hit me in the mouth. But the man that I was having an affair with, I waited 2 or 3 days to tell him, because I was afraid he'd go berserk and go kill him. I'm serious. I was frightened at what he might do.
So when was the next time you saw Bill Clinton?
Probably 1991, when he apologized to me.
Well, but didn't you, I thought that you had run into Hillary shortly after.
Yes, but I didn't see him at that function.
Oh, I see.
3 weeks later, I went to a fundraiser. But before the rape, I had helped set up and arrange this fundraiser with friends of mine, Betty and Buddy Criswell. They had a beautiful home here in Van Buren, and we knew that would be a perfect place to have a fundraiser. After the rape, and I get home, I'm walking around in a daze half the time, not even knowing I mean, just trying to get through day to day. I completely forgot about the fundraiser. Betty calls me the day of the fundraiser and says, did you have some donors list that you were going to bring me? And I said, oh, God, Betty, I completely forgot, and I can't be there tonight, but I'll run these up to you. I said, I'm not feeling well, and I'll run these up to you before the fundraiser begins. So about 6:30, this fundraiser was supposed to start at 7. And I got up to her house about 6:20, 6:30, started giving her the information and told her that I had to leave, that I didn't feel well. Well, before I could get out the front door, I'm headed to the front door, and here comes the Clintons back I hear them coming in the back. And the man who drove them from the airport, his name is Chuck Watts. He's a local pharmacist. And he rushes over to me. He did not know about what had happened to me. But he rushes over to me and says, my gosh, the topic of the conversation all the way from the airport was the Clintons asking me questions about you. And I just sort of froze, and I thought, I've got to get out of here. So I'm headed toward the front door, and then I see out of the corner of my eye, here comes Hillary Clinton straight for me. And Brandon, I'm thinking as she walks toward me, back then, I didn't know anything about her. I'm thinking, here comes that poor woman straight for me that's married to that monster. And she comes to me, she takes on my hand, and she says, I just want to tell you how appreciative that Bill and I are for everything you do in this campaign. I could have said thank you. I could have just nodded. I mean, I was about to faint. And so I turn from her, start to the door again. And then I feel somebody grab me from behind. And I mean, I turn around, and Hillary Clinton has a death grip on my arm. And she pulls me down to her. And she says, I mean, her face just had this horrible scowl on it. And she pulls me down to her and she says, do you understand everything you do? And my God, I yanked my arm from hers and left. I never did see him.
It's kind of chilling. I mean, it's as if she were trying to communicate something to you, but not really say the words, right?
Yes, it was a threat. Well, there were people standing around. They could hear her, you know. It was definitely a threat. And I became frightened of both of them that day, but especially her.
Well, I had do you know Buzz Patterson?
No.
Buzz Patterson worked in the Clinton administration. He's a military guy, and he carried the nuclear football for Bill Clinton, lived in the White House for 2 years with the Clintons. And he had a similar impression of Hillary as you did. I mean, he said that she's an icy, scary human being.
Yeah, she's horrible.
Yeah.
And people say, why didn't you come forward? Why didn't you do something? I was too frightened. And to be very truthful, in the beginning, I mean, that was the 70s. I blame myself for not being smart enough to know what this man was and what he was coming in my room. I mean, I blame myself for a long time.
Well, and I think that's important to remember, too, that, I mean, we're talking about decades ago where the cultural, zeitgeist surrounding this conversation was very different back then. I mean, this wasn't really about female empowerment and coming forward, right?
No.
And so tell us, so in 1991, you saw him again.
Yes, I was down at a nursing home meeting in Little Rock, and with the same two nurses that the first two people I told, they're sisters. And we were in the meeting, and it was getting close to noon, and some man comes to the door and said, Mrs. Broaddrick is wanted in the hallway. So I get up and go out there, and the nurses follow shortly behind me there. And he points down around the corner by the elevator, and he said, you're needed down there. So I walked down there thinking some kind of emergency from home, and I round that corner, and there stands Bill Clinton with two of his Arkansas State policemen. And he rushes over to me, and it frightened me. Yeah. I mean, I've seen this man in 13 years. And he rushes over to me and tries to take my hand, and I just keep backing up. And he says, I'm just so sorry for what I did. And he says things like, I'm a changed man. I'm a family man. I would never do that again. And I just stood there. I was just shocked. And I looked at him and I said, "You go to hell." And I walked off, and I walked back to my friends, my nurses, and they said, "What did he want?" And I said, "He apologized."
Juanita, how long was it after that he announced that he was running for president?
2 weeks. But you know what frightened me about that? It's just like he was telling me, I can reach out and touch you anytime I want. You know, for him to know where I was at that time in my life 13 years later.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What do you want the world to know about the Clintons?
That they're very evil people, that they do things for money and power, and people are hurt along the way if they get in their way. These are not good people.
Juanita, how did you feel when Hillary was running?
Oh my gosh. Well, after the NBC Dateline interview, I went back into keeping quiet and never doing anything again. After I was attacked so horrifically by the media, after I came out on NBC, and after NBC did what they did to me by holding the interview until after the impeachment. But all of a sudden one day, Brandon, 2015, November or so, I see Hillary Clinton on TV making a statement that she had tweeted, and she tweeted, "All victims of sexual abuse should come forward and be believed, and we're with you." I went ballistic. I couldn't stay quiet any longer. And so I got my little grandson, my 13-year-old grandson, to teach me how to use Twitter. And I didn't know anything else to do. I mean, I didn't know how to use Twitter very well. And so he walked me through it. And so on the morning of January the 6th, 2016, I tweeted. I was 35 years old when Bill Clinton, the Arkansas Attorney General, raped me, and Hillary tried to silence me. I'm now 73, and it never goes away. And I thought, well, that looks good. And I clicked tweet. I didn't know the power of Twitter, and all hell broke loose. My phone rung off the wall. And I'd not said anything that I hadn't said 20 years previously. But I mean, my phone rang off the wall. The third call was my son, who's an attorney. And he said, "Mom, what did you do?" And I said, "I don't know." And I didn't. I had no idea. And so it began from there.
Juanita, at the time when I believe it was 1999 when you came out with this, wasn't it?
Yes.
Do you feel like you were believed at the time? How did people receive the information?
Oh, not the media, not the mainstream media at all. Fox Network did. I did a second interview with Sean Hannity. He came to my home in 2004. But no, the media ridiculed anybody who came out about the victims. But the public were very, very supportive. I got thousands of letters from the general public, you know, in support, but not the media.
Do you think it would have been different if Bill Clinton were a Republican?
Oh,
received.
Well, no, I don't know. I just know the media, regardless of what affiliation, they just had this huge tie to Bill Clinton. It was unreal. And you know, the only one that ever asked him at a White House conference was that who's the older woman, the press that's in the press corps, that she's not there anymore. But anyway, she asked him about it, and she was the only one except Sam Donaldson. And he said, "Well, my attorneys have answered that." He's never answered.
So given the experience that you've had and your perspective, where you're coming from, what is your opinion of where we sort of are now culturally in this age of women should always be believed?
Well, I don't think that all women should be believed. I think all women should be heard, but I think all women women's allegations should be investigated and vetted. And you should have some corroboration, which, of course, we know Dr. Ford did not.
Well, that's I've got that written down right here on my paper. That was my next question.
Sorry.
No, it's a perfect segue. Do you have an opinion about Christine Blasey Ford?
Oh, listen, when I first came out with my opinion, people would tweet and say, how can you as a victim not believe and support Christine Ford? And I said, well, it's very simple. I don't believe her. There's no corroboration that ties back to Judge Kavanaugh. None. I mean, there's none.
Right.
I had so much. It had been 40 years for me, and I still remembered every little detail.
See, that's very interesting, too, what you just said. In a way, it's almost another form of sort of the tribal, I think, mentality that happens on the left so often. And it's that message that you're a victim. So anyone else who claims to be a victim, you should automatically just take them in, and it kind of becomes this group thing. This is, I think, what makes me angry. And I think it makes a lot of people angry, because for legitimate victims like yourself, in a way, it delegitimizes your experience. If we are now going to just take for granted anything that anybody says, whether there's evidence to corroborate or not.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's just such a double standard. Look, you had Dianne Feinstein, you had Chuck Schumer, and you had Dick Durbin, that all in 1999, when I was interviewed by the independent counsel, they refused to read my deposition. Not one Democrat would read my deposition. Even after Henry Hyde said, please, we're not going to bring her into the hearing, but please just read this very credible account. You may have a rapist in the White House. Not one would read it.
They didn't want to know.
No. It's better that that's what they thought. They just turned their backs to me completely.
All right. Now, Juanita, something very interesting happened recently with you on Twitter. Can we get into that a little bit?
Sure.
So you received a private message, a direct message with four pieces of paper, essentially. I mean, or four, I don't know what we call it on Twitter. Four pages of written testimony. Am I correct so far?
Yes.
And it's an anonymous 4-page letter from somebody who's making allegations against Cory Booker.
Yes, that happened just shortly after midnight, but I didn't see it until Friday morning. But I got this message from the Twitter handle Deep Throat. And that, people complain about that, but I remember, the Watergate thing, and that's what I completely attributed it to. But he just said, hello, Miss Broaddrick. I would like for you to retweet this if you were so inclined. So I read it all, Brandon, and listen, I was very struck by this very articulate young man and how he spelled out what had happened to him. And so I messaged him back and I said, I'll be happy to tweet it. And I did.
I read all 4 pages, and it is he seems to me to be a very interesting character. And I had to read it twice, as a matter of fact, because the first time I read it, my first impression was that there was almost a flippancy about the way he was describing. I thought, he injects a lot of humor into this, and I don't know how to feel about that. And then towards the end, he sort of explains that he's had a history of abuse and trauma, and that the sense of humor is sort of how he copes and deals with these things that have happened to him. But I think it's so interesting that he reached out to you because it sounds like he had gone to Farrow, the reporter with the Me Too movement, and didn't get a lot of response there.
Right. That's exactly what he said. But he also followed up with a tweet that said that they just didn't communicate, that Ronan had told him that he didn't like the way he presented the situation, but he said they just didn't communicate well. But he seems like a very nice young man. We still message on Twitter, and I want to be any kind of help we can. And you were saying he uses humor. I do too, Brandon. Sometimes it's just about the only way. You have to have some levity, or you can't get through the day. And I do have a lot of levity and humor in my stuff, even though it's a very serious situation.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, this is something that I've always said since the beginning of time. I mean, I'm exactly the same way. I'm not really a crier. I never have been. I usually tend to deal with everything that life throws at me by finding the humor in it. And sometimes the humor is very, very dark. And so I think that it's important for people to remember people cope in different ways. And someone might be telling you something very painful and very dark, but I mean, some people do inject humor in that. And that doesn't mean that the subject can be taken any less seriously.
Yeah. And he's having a pretty bad day today, but I just told him that you're going to have those days. This is a hard thing to go through.
Now, did your relationship begin with this DM, or did you have a relationship with this anonymous person before?
Oh, no. It began with the DM.
It did?
Yeah.
I see. I'm not asking you to, I don't want you to reveal who it is, but do you know who it is?
No, I don't.
You don't know who it is? No.
We just communicate, on direct message. And I just have so much empathy for him. I just, even though he's a young man, I can still feel his pain.
Well, I think it's so interesting that I had to actually, because I wanted to go back and reread the 4 pages.
Yeah.
So I did a Google search of it. I can't find a single article that's been written about this or Cory Booker. I mean, even the allegation, which I literally just had to go back to your tweets to find the 4 pages. I can't find a single story.
Yeah, you mean on Twitter? A lot of people have retweeted it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the media hasn't touched it.
No, the media hasn't touched it.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll write, the New York Times will print an anonymous op-ed about our president being insane by an insider in the White House, but we can't, put out an anonymous story about an allegation against Cory Booker. I think that's interesting.
Well, from everything I've seen, he's an extremely intelligent, articulate young man.
Well,
and I believe him. I believe him wholeheartedly.
So I want to talk, Rob, can we throw up the picture of Juanita's book? You wrote a book which came out earlier this year, I believe, right? In January?
Yeah, in January.
And I have to tell you, I find the title of this book kind of breathtaking. Oh, there it is. You'd better put some ice on that. I was going to say I find it chilling, but that's a very bad pun. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. See, there we go with the humor, the dark humor. No, but yeah, I think that. So, what's the book about? I mean, we know what it's about, but why tell the book? Why write the book?
Well, I didn't really mean to write a book, Brandon. When I came back from the inauguration, I just thought, there's so much happened to me in the last 2 years and all throughout my life. And I said, I'm just going to sit down at the computer. And I did for about 2 months and just sort of wrote out my life from the time I was a little girl on through when I became a successful nursing home owner and how Bill Clinton affected my life. And it's just a story about my whole life. And so I just put it back on my computer. And then I had this young man, Nick Mullally. He was a investigative reporter. And he came, he called me and wanted to do an interview. And so I sent him my memoirs, you might say. And he was the one that finally said, we need to do a book. So that's how the book came around.
Well, and you also now are going to be the subject of a documentary.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
With Kyle Olson. I just put out a GoFundMe this morning, but I need for people to know that the GoFundMe is not for me personally because I don't want GoFundMes for me. But this is in order to produce a movie, a documentary about me starting We're going to start in Little Rock, Arkansas, go back to that hotel that it happened in, and then just go all through my whole story with the hopes that we can play this in the city on the nights that Bill and Hillary Clinton are speaking.
Oh, Juanita, if I could just crawl through the screen and give you a kiss right now.
Well,
I think you're a woman after my own heart.
yeah.
I just met Kyle Olson a week ago tonight. Well, no, I didn't meet him a week ago tonight. I saw him a week ago tonight. I actually met him several weeks ago in Michigan because he put together the Diamond and Silk movie.
I know, and it was great.
Yes. Yes, and I had like a little moment in the movie, so I got to meet Kyle, and I think that have you actually started the documentary yet?
No, we haven't started filming, but we will film start in Little Rock, and I'm not for sure. But we're hoping to be in, I'm not for sure what the schedule is going to be, so I can't say.
Well, I'm excited for you, and I think that that'll be an amazing, amazing documentary. I'd love to see it. And I know Kyle does great work, so that's so exciting. Juanita, it was amazing talking to you tonight. Thank you so much for being with me.
Oh, thank you. And it was so nice meeting you in Washington.
Yes, it was. Well, quickly, before you go, tell everybody how I was teasing Juanita earlier that she's literally just had the gayest week of her life. Do you want to tell everybody about your big gay week?
It was wonderful. I flew to North Carolina to speak for Peter Boynton and at his little rally that he had there. And then we went on Sunday to the gay pride, and there was thousands of people there, and I'd never been around so many gay people in all my life, and I had an absolute blast.
Yes, and Peter Boykin, just so people know, he created Gays for Trump. He's the founder and president of Gays for Trump. He's a gay conservative, much like myself. And Peter is running for North Carolina House District 68. So I want to make sure and give some love to Peter Boykin running for North Carolina House District 68. Is this 58?
He is such a fine young man, and his husband, David, I enjoyed my time with them so much.
Yeah, I screwed that up. So let me say it again. North Carolina House District 58. That's Peter Boykin. We love him. Juanita, I adore you.
Oh, I adore you too, Brandon.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight, and let's keep in touch. And I want to talk to you again when that documentary comes out too.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Have a great night, Juanita. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I love her, but I've always had a soft spot for Southern women too. That's, I just do. I love Southern women. I love the show Designing Women too. That's part of the reason why. Anyway, let's get right into my next guest. Speaking of our big gay week, Juanita's big gay week. My next perfectly fits the bill. She is a walk away. Well, okay, where do I even start? Kitty. It's Kitty. We saw Kitty's walkaway video in the walkaway campaign, and it was literally so stunning. I mean, it was instantly, I think, one of everybody's favorites. It's still one of everybody's favorites because it's not only a powerful and compelling walkaway story and not only like a beautifully shot video, but it's almost like a piece of performance art. It's really stunning. Rob, do we have a moment from Kitty's video? A little bit of Kitty's walkaway video. Let's show a little bit of Kitty Demure's walkaway video.
Hi, everybody. My name is Billy. My stage persona is named Kitty, so this is Kitty. Anyway, I want to talk about the moment I walked away. And the moment I walked away was when me and my husband were invited to a 4th of July party. And after that party, my large group of Latino gay friends called my husband the N-word. And that devastated me. I did not expect that. And since then, no one has reached out to me. No one's apologized to me, and they've all stuck together. Another moment I realized there was something going on with the Democrats, Liberal Party, or just my community in general. People I respected highly in the entertainment business, drag performers, would preach love and hate against it from the stage. And then they would go backstage and use the N-word and talk about Mexicans. I find them to be extremely phony. And I knew it was time to walk away. I left some friends behind. And that's, whatever. I don't care. But they've also left me behind. I've had many people just stop talking to me, delete me on social media. And, while I enjoy, I enjoy being gay, I enjoy being a drag queen, I don't like the expectation of being a liberal Democrat and standing up for these crazy beliefs that they have. I do believe I should have the right to be married. I understand that's not a conservative viewpoint, and that's fine with me. We all don't have to agree on everything. But, in the end, I'm just a regular guy.
Just love that. Ladies and gentlemen, Kitty Demure. Hi, Kitty. Oh, is Kitty muted? Kitty?
Hi.
Hi, darling.
How are you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. And thank you. Kitty's a blonde.
Today, I took a poll online and everybody loves the blonde. So, except my mother thinks I look like a whore, but whatever.
What does she know? What does she know?
Well,
Kitty, let's dive right in. Now, I don't want to shock everybody, but Kitty, you're not really a girl, are you?
No, I'm a big, large man, 6'3", 292 pounds of today.
Kitty Demure, how long you been doing drag?
Oh, I've been, off and on doing drag. I would say about 5 to 7 years.
I love your look. I love your look. And like, this is magic to me. I love those eyelashes. So
they're very well constructed.
Yeah. And I think, okay, so when you first dropped your walkaway video, which I feel like was pretty early on, do you remember when you did that?
Honestly, I don't remember. I know I came across your video. I came across the Facebook page, and I figured, what the hell, I'm going to do my own video.
But it had to be by, I think, late June or July, right?
Right. I think it was like probably around July.
Yeah, I think so. And I remember I found your video to be, June 30th. It was, thank you, Rob. You dropped it on June 30th. That's kind of around the time I was thinking, because I remember mentally I have kind of a timeline of when the walkaway videos sort of unfolded, because there were several weeks there where, I was sort of begging people like, make testimonials, like, this is going to work. Really, come on, guys, this is going to work. And then I was so excited when I saw yours, because everything kind of went up another level. I feel like at that point, like there was such a kind of a theatricality and I mean, it was like a performance art piece. I almost felt like watching you completely undress. And there was a certain sort of symbolism I felt like in you undressing on camera and really sort of bearing your soul. I mean, was that intentional?
No, that was not intentional. Although that is I've seen a couple of people do an act like that on stage where, if it's fitting for the song, it's usually at the end of the night. They'll, do a slow song and de-drag themselves. But mine started because my eyelash was really bothering me, because these huge eyelashes are just, you feel them every blink. So it caught onto my hair and I thought about it and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to start the video over again. I don't want to do anything. Oh, screw it. I'll just take it all off. But I really didn't realize what it meant to people. To some people it was like a symbol of revealing myself, and I just think it's great, that people got that from that. It was very inspiring, and I didn't intend it to be that way, but I love it.
I think it really did. I mean, because it's just like you said, I feel like it was sort of like a symbolic way of sort of stripping down and bearing your soul and showing everybody what's underneath, like revealing what's underneath sort of the artifice of all of this. And I think that in a way, that's what everyone who's walking away is kind of doing and feeling right now, is sort of going deeper and looking and getting in touch with these feelings that a lot of us have had for a long time, that there's something's uncomfortable, something's not right. And I think that there's a lot of introspection that's happening right now among a lot of people in our country who are starting to feel like they want to walk away. But I want to hear from you. What was your experience? What did it for you? Because you walked away, right?
Right. Yeah. No. I was an Obama supporter. I voted for him twice, and I think it was, the older I got, the more I kind of saw through everything. I saw, first of all, I thought the gay community was completely used by the Democrats, because I recall Hillary and Obama just being against, gay marriage. And then one day, all of a sudden, they're conveniently for it. And, they evolved in their thinking. I believe that's what they said. And I didn't buy it, because I figured these are two smart, well-educated people who can form their ideas and things, I'm sure, pretty early. And now all of a sudden, in their, late years, they decide, oh yeah, what the hell? I'm gonna accept it. I'm gonna actually embrace it and love it. I thought it was completely phony.
I think so too. I thought it was completely political. And the thing I think, now I'll be honest, I was happy that they did it at the time, because I felt like we needed people in positions of power who are speaking positively on our behalf. For me, where the problem lied, and I think still lies, is there's almost this revision of history where it seems like they are taking credit for the advancements that we as gay people have made. They really didn't. I mean, both of those people came out in support of gay marriage when public favor was already past the tipping point. You know what I mean?
Right.
We were so clearly headed to the point where the majority of people were in support of these things. There was really no risk at that point. So it's like, but we don't have gay marriage because of Obama, and we don't have gay marriage because of Hillary Clinton. We have our gay rights in general. We have these things because of the hard work that the gay people and the people in the gay community did for decades.
Exactly.
No,
totally agree.
But go on. I interrupted. Sorry.
Oh no, and also, being in the gay entertainment business, I could say, and it's not porn, but I worked in nightclubs and stuff. And I worked in one nightclub for a while, and I got to meet very high level drag performers. Lots of people who have won RuPaul's Drag Race and stuff like that, and they it's very popular for them to go on stage. It's very popular for them to complain about the administration, preach against hate, talk about diversity, all the key magic words they all use. And the thing is, they would get off stage and be completely different people backstage. And it just really shocked me. I didn't realize how phony it all was. And so to this day, I, go to shows, I hear, hosts and stuff, and that the audience is not, in my opinion, they're not buying it as much as they used to. I've seen people get up and leave. Yeah, I've seen people get up and leave when politics gets they talk a little too much about politics, and they play the F Donald Trump song and things like that, and it's just getting old. It's getting very old, and it's just gross to me. So
it's been old for a while. For some of us, it's been old. But you touched on something that I'm so glad you did, and I kind of want to talk about it, which is, these are not your words, but I'm paraphrasing. I was kind of jotting down some notes when you talked about, them getting up on stage and doing the F Donald Trump thing, and kind of, or talking about, the diversity and tolerance, whatever. Don't you feel like, particularly within the gay community, or maybe just in general, these kinds of buzzwords have become trendy? It's just so trendy. And it's like, you're going to get applause when you go on stage and say these words. It's like, it's lazy. As a performer, it's lazy, because you're guaranteed applause and affirmative response simply by saying these things. I don't know how old you are, and you don't have to say if you don't want to, but I am of a certain age, and I'm of an age where I refer to myself as of a certain age, and as somebody of a certain age, I remember, in the 90s and the 2000s, like going to clubs, and you would see drag acts, or you would see, you know, acts in gay clubs. It was so edgy. It was so it was so provocative. I mean, it was so interesting. I mean, it was the counterculture. It was the, you know, it was something that you would go, that you could hear something beyond the mainstream. It was exactly the opposite of what people do today. And I think it's so tiresome. And that's what you're describing. I mean, they're so bored with hearing these things. They're meaningless buzzwords. I mean, don't you think?
Oh yeah, you know, I'll tell you, one of the last performances I saw, somebody got on stage and they did Regina George from Bad Girls, and they had the burn book, you know, where, you know, in the book they put people's pictures and talk shit about them and stuff. But anyway, on stage, you know, they opened up the book and it was Donald Trump. Oh wow, how groundbreaking.
God.
You know, there's no thought put into anything. It's anything to get a cheap applause, but I'm just glad that applause is starting to go away. And, you know, they don't think they have to work anymore. You know, comedians, you know, whatever, you know, it's easy. And like you said, it's lazy. And I'm just getting sick of it. It's old.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. But okay, so what happened to you though? Like, what was your experience that changed your mind? I mean, beyond just, there was more than just the what was happening in the clubs. Well,
you know, like, okay, in my video, I talk about what happened to me and my husband at a 4th of July party. And I believe it was the first time I introduced him to this group of people. And, you know, he's a Marine, he's very patriotic. And, you know, the 4th of July means something to him. And so we go to this party and, you know, he meets my friends, he plays pool, you know, everybody gets along great. And the host of the party starts getting a little belligerent. You know, there's drinking going on. And he looks at me, Mark looks at me, and he says, "Hey, we could leave this party anytime you want." And I know what that meant. That meant I want to get the hell out of here. Right. So I go to the host of the party and I say, "Hey, you know, we had a great time. We got to go home." He goes, "Well, the fireworks haven't even happened yet." "I know, but we really need to leave. And thanks for your hospitality, whatever, shake hands." And he drops my hand and he said, "You know, you can just get the hell out of my house." And I said, "Well, you can't kick somebody out who's already said they're leaving." And I just figured, you know, well, he's drunk or whatever. I don't know. And sure. I get ready to turn around and walk away. And he said, "Yeah, you can get out of here and you can take your N-word with you." And at that moment, Mark, he just stiffened up, turned around and ran toward him. And I was sort of stuck in this place where, you know, I just want him to beat the shit out of him because he deserves it. But I didn't want Mark to get in trouble for it either. So I just grabbed Mark and I just say, "Come on, let's go. We get in the car and we're leaving." And he's just so pissed off and he starts hitting the dash and you know, and I believe he was trying to hold back tears because it was embarrassing. And the thing that really bothered me was this group of guys that I had known for quite a while, they just completely ignored what happened. They didn't say a word. They just continued going and doing what they were doing. And to this day, they've never said anything. And I've completely dropped out of the circle. And I don't know. It's just, you know, all those things put together that just made me, you know, kind of rethink, you know, politics and who I support and things like that. So,
well, I feel like, you know, listening to your stories and your experiences, the word that kind of keeps popping into my mind is hypocrisy. Like, I feel like you really had the exposition of a lot of hypocrisy.
I can't. That's, you know, there lots of things in the world I tolerate. I cannot stand hypocrisy. I just can't. And, you know, a lot of the videos I do on YouTube are just, you know, I'm bringing up hypocrisy and it's, yeah, it is a common theme with me. I can't stand it. It just gross to me. I don't get it.
Well, I think it is gross because I mean, on the one hand, you've got like this group of people, which is always people on the left who are constantly virtue signaling. They're constantly, you know, proselytizing to the rest of us for, you know, for their moral high ground, you know, what they perceive to be their moral high ground. And in reality, so many of these people are not actually walking the walk that they're talking, you know, and they're not living what they're telling everyone else to do. Meanwhile, I'm now seeing people on the right who really aren't exhibiting these behaviors whatsoever. I mean, look at how the left has reacted to Kanye West. I mean, look at the things that the liberal media and the people on the left are saying about him for not saying what they want him to say and thinking what they want him to think.
You know, that's ridiculous. And Mark, my husband, he's going through the same thing with, you know, Black people that he knows in his life. They just, you know, and a lot of times they're like the gay community. They all, you know, sort of, you know, want to, it's like a hive mind. And, you know, it really takes courage to break free from that hive. And he's broke free from that, and he's being more public about it. And he's getting backlash from his own community over it.
So what do you think? What are we going to do about these gays? What are we going to do? How are we going to wake these people up?
I don't know, but you know, there's a lot more out there than people think. I just, a lady that I know who lives in Phoenix who went to Trump's rally the other day, she sent me a picture, and on the back of it she took a picture of this man's shirt, and on the back it said Hispanic gays for Trump. And she said there were gays running all over that rally, and Hispanics were running all over that rally. And the funny thing is, I posted that on social media, and the people that I know are saying, "Oh God, it's a fake, it's a Photoshop." I go, "No, it's not. It isn't." And it's just the mainstream media has everybody believing that, you know, nobody supports Trump but racist white men. And it's just, it's the most ridiculous thing. But I do think that's an image that's cracking. And I think people are seeing through it.
I'm so glad. I posted something on Twitter. Let me see if I can quickly find it. If I can't, I'll just try to paraphrase. But this week I posted something on Twitter, and I think it's the most response I've ever gotten on a tweet. It really resonated with people. And I didn't really necessarily mean for it to, but it's sort of in keeping with what you're saying right now. Let me see if I can find this. Sorry. Oh, here it is. I said, you're okay. And the reason why I said this, by the way, is because I've had, since I started the Walkway campaign, I've had probably 4 or 5 LGBT publications reach out to me, do interviews with me, and then they kill the story. It never comes out. But what they do is put people on the cover. See, this, I got kind of mad. I'll give the backstory why I said this. Somebody, a gay conservative, reached out to me, and he said, have you seen this? And I believe it was a publication that was supposed to do a story on me, decided not to do the story. But instead, they did this story about this very brave, are my fingers in there? Okay. Brave gay man who was, he's a gay man who's coming out of the closet about being a feminist. And he's coming out of the closet. He's coming out of the closet about being a feminist. And what was the other thing? That he's an atheist. That he's bravely coming out as feminist and atheist. And boy, it set the whole Rob is literally, my producer's literally gagging himself right now. So he got the damn cover of this LGBT magazine for being so brave as to announcing to liberals that he's atheist and feminist. Oh my God. Hopefully he'll get an award. So I wrote, you're unlikely to read about me in a gay publication. Why? Because I'm a gay man who is beloved and supported by conservatives and Republicans. I am leading a national movement, and my sexuality has not deterred anybody from joining me. I am a nightmare to the leftist narrative. And I've gotten 15,000 likes on that tweet.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been retweeted like, I don't know, 5,000 to 6,000 times or something, which for me is a lot. But yeah, no, I mean, it's we need more alternative voices, I think, in this community. I mean, this community needs to hear more than just, you're brave if you're an atheist or a feminist. Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh, that's ridiculous. And the thing is, I get called a self-loathing homosexual and things like that. And I've explained it. In fact, I just had this conversation today. I go, my page, my kitty page, I completely wiped it from all drag related things. And I have devoted it just to this. And I get so much support from people that, would look at people and call them hicks or hillbillies and stuff. And these people are very genuine, loving people on the right. And I make it very clear anytime I can that I'm very much accepted by these people, and any backlash I get is from the left, and it is from the gay community, because the last thing they want is people like us to go up against them, and it just blows their whole narrative. And no, I am extremely proud of what I'm doing now, and I don't know. I'm not a self-loathing homosexual. I completely love myself, and I love being homosexual.
We love you too, Kitty. What are you doing now? Tell us.
What as far as employment?
No, well, you said you love what you're doing now.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just, every week I film a couple of videos. I post them on YouTube, and I'm getting my subscription list is getting bigger every day, and people just love them. I just make short little snippet videos of the topic of the week, something we've all heard on the news, and I make fun of it, or I just come up with a lot of times I'll do parodies. So I like recently I thanked Elizabeth Warren for her bravery for coming out and saying that she's Native American, that she actually put her white privilege aside and admitted that she had tainted white blood. Yeah. And it just, I just have a lot of fun doing it, and people love it. So I'm going to keep doing it.
That's literally brave. I mean, I think she actually is a brave, isn't she?
Yes, yeah, she's a warrior. I called her a warrior, and we now know she really is one.
Kitty, tell everybody how we can subscribe to your YouTube channel and how we should follow you.
Oh, you can just go to YouTube, look up Kitty Demure, hit the subscribe button. It's a lot of fun. I talk about many topics, and any suggestions, I'm open, and I can't wait to see all of you on there.
I love it. I'm going to go and watch it. Now, are you on Twitter?
I'm not. I never picked up Twitter, and maybe I should.
You're really missing out. You're so missing out.
I should do it.
I didn't do Twitter either until I started Walkway Campaign. When I started the Walkway Campaign, I had like 14 followers on Twitter, and then the campaign kind of helped things explode. Get on Fox, do Fox News a couple times, you'll get lots of followers. Kitty, thank you for joining us, and
thank you.
Your video's amazing. I wish you could be at the Walkway March on Washington. I know you can't because we already talked about it.
Yeah, I can't, and I regret it. I wish I could. It would be a lot of fun. My mother would absolutely love to do it, and
next time.
Do it. Yes, sir. Next time.
This is not a one-time thing. There will be more walkaway events. I don't know if it'll always be a March on Washington. We'll do another one again, probably maybe in 2020. But there'll definitely be more walkaway events, and I want to see Kitty Demure there.
Yes, I will definitely be there next time.
All right, darling, have a great night. Thank you so much for coming on.
You too. Thank you.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
And now, our media mogul, Maria Albanese, the woman who tells us all the news that the news doesn't tell us, and lets us know all the things that we need to know that's going on that the news doesn't let us know. Rob, can we bring Maria Albanese, the Citizen Pundit, onto the show? It's okay to say no, Rob. Hi, Maria.
Hi, hon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What a great show tonight.
Yeah, before we dig in, let me just say, too, Kitty has set the world on fire. We have so many comments coming in with people saying that they love Kitty Demure. And they're saying, subscribe. Kitty, you're going to get all these new followers. I'm so happy for you. I hope these people are subscribing to my YouTube channel, too. Do you think they are? Maria?
Of course they are. And Kitty needs to get on Twitter.
Kitty needs to get on Twitter.
Yeah.
All right, Maria, what's going on in the world today, this week?
Lots of crazy stuff. Well, I watched the rally before we went on tonight, and that was fabulous. Our president very proudly said that he's a nationalist. That's going to be all in the media tomorrow, but in a good way.
But is he an atheist and a feminist?
Thank the dear Lord, no.
Well, then that's not very brave. That's not very brave.
We don't need any more of that. So that was really exciting. My today's show was pretty interesting. We talk a lot about not being on the mainstream media and staying on alternative media, social media, all the independent journalists that are out there. One of my favorites I've talked about many times with you, not on the show, but privately, and on the radio show I do, is The True Pundit. Do you recall talking about The True Pundit?
Do. Yes,
okay.
I do.
Thomas Paine, about 2 years ago, that was his pseudonym that he started writing under, and he was very intriguing.
Right.
And we all noticed that a lot of his stories were months and months, maybe even a year ahead of what was happening. Like, you would hear names of FBI agents, just things that you would never hear on the mainstream. Then eventually it would trickle out to the top. Now, many people, of course, wanted to know who he was. You know, there was all this mystery behind it. Who is he? You would have all kind of opinions. But one thing stood out with me. Back in October 2016, he did an article about Andrew McCabe and his wife and Terry McAuliffe. And months later, maybe in the next year, when Judicial Watch FOIA'd when McCabe and Comey and all those names finally made it into mainstream media, Judicial Watch had FOIA'd some emails. And in the emails was a True Pundit article that was forwarded from Jill McCabe to her husband, Andrew McCabe. Andrew McCabe forwarded immediately to James Comey with a note that said, FYI, heavyweight source. At that point, I really knew that I needed to follow True Pundit and Thomas Paine every day. Check their Twitter account, check their Facebook every day, because they were really putting out things that we were not going to see for a long time. So you'd want to study it, you want to hold on to it. Sometimes something would hit the mainstream media, I'd have to go and check and open up the article to see he only wrote it a year ago. And now it's finally making it to the mainstream. But then he did something even more brilliant. He finally revealed himself about a month ago. Jason Goodman of Crowdsourced to Truth did an awesome, I want to say it was a 2-hour interview, in depth. And he explains his story. You know, he was formerly a journalist, then he was former in Intel. Some things happened to him, and he decided to come out with the publication True Pundit and expose the deep state. You see that word that we never used prior to the election of Donald Trump. You know, that was always a conspiracy word. But now we know that it's true. It all exists. We see it every day. They rub our noses in it, and still we don't see any indictments. But this book is going to drop. It's called Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas, which is really ultimately what they did. And that book's dropping October 29th. But he gave us a little tease, and this is not on the news. Let's start taking wagers. How long before this story makes it to the mainstream media? Because all the details will be in the book with documentation. And the title of this article is, and it dropped on October 16th, so you could go to truepundit.com, you could go to his Twitter, you could go to his Facebook, find this article. U.S. hid Osama bin Laden in Iran for a decade after 9/11. Bush and Obama White House worked with Saudi and Iran deal to safeguard terror leader. Big article, big scandal, more to come.
So what does this mean?
This means a lot for two administrations, I'll tell you that. So, but this was the brilliance of what he did. When he was under True Pundit and Thomas Paine, a lot of the mainstream media pundits would report on his work, but never credit him because he was Thomas Paine. Nobody knew who he was. So him and his team got the idea to put the next big story, scandal, whatever they were going to drop, rather than drop it in an article, they decided to write a book about it. And now his identity is out there. He could talk about this. And in the book will be a lot of detailed documentations from his intel. See, this is the story I believe he states he was getting close to when the FBI went after him many years ago. But all of this will be in the book. And this is another reason why I like to follow the independent journalists, because their material is unfiltered. We're free to read it, research it, follow it. I can't wait for the book.
So why did he wait so long to reveal his identity? And what was the purpose of it? Was there a purpose to the timing of it?
I do believe that there was an absolute purpose to the timing of it. I think they intended to have a 2-year mark. They came out, I believe, right before the election. If it wasn't September, October, it's probably around the time I found them, was probably October of 2016. And I followed them ever since. And I would notice these patterns of their articles would come out, and 6 months down the line, Sean Hannity would be talking about something. It would really filter on up. But he was never sourced. But you could go back and look up the date, because, you know, he would do that. He would post an article and you'd say, wait a second, this sounds familiar. Let me look at the date. Sure enough, it was an article that he wrote a year prior, 6 months prior, 8 months prior, whatever it would have been. But I think he and his team had put this plan together with their timeline, because their motive is to educate us and go after the corrupt. The FBI is not corrupt as a whole. There's certain levels to it that need to be ripped apart. And this is what they are exposing. And now there's one other thing you're going to see in the article that's going to change a lot of things, because once the documentation comes out that we can swallow this, and a lot of people aren't going to swallow this until they see it, of course. But at that time, Mueller was the FBI director. So this is, in his words, one of the biggest scandals in U.S. history is coming unraveled.
Amazing.
So that's not on the news. You asked me for something that's not on the news, and there you have it.
And you came through, darling. You came through. You know, I want to ask you, Maria, because listen, I'm not going to lie. I have been up to beyond my ears in dealing with this. You know, this was coming this week in the Walkway March. So, you know, I'm missing stuff for the last few weeks. Well, more than the last few weeks, I've been missing stuff. But what the hell is going on with the Mueller Russian event? Why do we not even talk? Do we even talk about this anymore?
No, we don't, because you see what the news cycles do. For a few days, they were talking about the Saudi journalist, and now we have the caravan coming. Then, in fact, today, that which should have been in the news, a lot of things about Rosenstein, but that wasn't in the news because they're talking about the caravan. We're talking about the rallies. Hey, we're countdown, what, 2 weeks to the midterms.
Yeah.
This is what everybody's talking about. Now, what's going to happen afterwards? I have no idea. He has to come out with some sort of report.
Yeah. What is the status of this stupid investigation? Oh, someone told me to smile. Haven't I been smiling? I've been smiling and laughing through the whole show. Do I seem? I don't know. Sorry. Sorry. How do I say that name? Dory? Sorry, Dory. You know, but telling someone to smile is kind of like telling someone to relax. Like, when has that ever worked? You know, when someone's just like, relax, relax. Like, that's like the surefire way to make sure that person does not relax whatsoever. Dory, I'm intentionally not going to smile for the rest of the show. Maria, tell us more.
The other thing, when you were talking with Miss Juanita, the story that you guys were talking about, that did appear in the Gateway Pundit on the 20th.
Oh, it did?
So one publication did pick it up. That's it. That's the only place I've seen it.
Do you have any opinions about the substance of the accusation?
I would like to see it investigated. Now, apparently the Gateway Pundit did reach out to the attorney for this person. Now, how they found out who the attorney was, I don't know, because it still says anonymous. Anonymous gay man Democrat. That's what the article says.
Well, he says in the letter that he no longer considers himself a Democrat. Marsha gave $100 because I smiled. Look, I'll smile again.
Wow.
Yeah, look, you guys, if you want me to smile, it's all about $100 super chats. That's you'll get a smile for every $100 super chat. Marsha, thank you so much. That's amazing. Thank you.
I think you need to sing for your dinner.
I'm too tired. I promise I'll sure I will. I will. Now someone just told me to calm down. Oh, I think they're making a joke because I said the thing about relax. You have to make your mind. Smile, calm down. Smile, calm down. They're really messing with me tonight, Maria.
That's good. We like it. You need to chill.
Do you guys have any questions or comments for Maria? Let's see what I want to know what they want you to tell them. Do you feel like just taking some rapid fire questions, Maria?
Yeah, throw them. Let's see if I can catch them.
NPC, what? Say it again, Rob. They want to know about the NPC meme.
No, dear, no.
Yeah, you're very all right. Well, that was a bust. All right. So what else do you guys...
Can't help you there.
Let's play a game. Let's do a quick Google search and just try to have a conversation about it based off of what we find out in 5 seconds. NPC meme, because I literally have never even heard of this. What is NPC? The pro-Trump internet's new favorite insult. Okay, so let's see. Twitter has barred hundreds of right-wing... Oh, I've seen these faces. Yeah, I've wondered what... I've wondered what this is. Twitter has barred hundreds of right-wing accounts for posing as soulless, non-playable liberal activists. Last week, a trolling campaign organized by right-wing internet users spilled over onto Twitter. The campaign, which was born in the fever swamps of 4chan and Reddit message boards, involved creating hundreds of fictional personas with gray cartoon avatars known as NPCs. These accounts posed as liberal activists and were used to spread, among other things, false information. False information about November's midterm elections. This is basically what they say the walkaway campaign is. What they're describing right now is literally what they say the walkaway campaign actually is. Over the weekend, Twitter responded by suspending about 1,500 accounts. God, I actually think this is probably being done by liberals to shut down the walkaway campaign. Anyway, it says, if you're confused, you're not alone. Here we try to unpack the NPC meme, what it means, and why it's causing trouble on Twitter. Well, this article's kind of long. Maria, do you have any thoughts?
None. I did see the picture. I didn't know that's what they were called.
We'll have to do a little research on that and get some people some answers. They want to know, Maria, do you have a YouTube channel?
No, I do not. No, just Facebook page, The Citizen Pundit, where I share articles, and on Twitter at One Citizen Pundit.
Greta Money wants to know, Maria, is the caravan traced to any organization?
Well, of course, we're all hearing Soros. And then I did hear one interview today on Fault Lines. They had interviewed an immigration attorney, and her feeling that it was being done by the Republicans. Now, I found that hysterical because the Republicans haven't figured out how to collude with the RNC. They're not.
They sure haven't found a way to collude with the walkway campaign either. Let me be honest about that.
This is what the right does well. We meme well. Meme. That's it. The left organizes well. They have very wealthy people behind them that do these things. I've not seen anything done by the right to this level, which wouldn't even make sense to me. But she was pretty confident. She was an immigration attorney, and that was her stance. But most things that I'm seeing, they keep pointing to Soros. I have seen pictures where people are not walking. They're walking so far, but then they're getting in trucks and vans, and they're driving them. So I've seen all kinds of stuff on social media.
Gotcha.
It's not organic. I can tell you that. It's not organic.
Oh, you don't think it's organic?
No. Look, it's like, think about, remember the movie Forrest Gump or Rocky? You know, as people are running, there's just more and more people coming. It started out with this number, and no, it's not organic.
But you don't believe that it started, you think that somebody set it up?
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, it takes a lot of money to do this, Brandon. They've got to get past the drug cartels. Who's paying the drug cartels?
Well, right. I heard it costs about $7,000 per person.
Right. If you're so poverty stricken in your country, where are you getting this money?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, Maria, what's the story with George Soros? I mean, I feel like the right, you know, like if I'm playing devil's advocate here and I'm just being honest, I feel like the right, it's the first place they go every time. George Soros. How much money does this man have? I mean, can he really afford to pay for everything that goes wrong in the world?
Well, if he's not paying for it, the Steyers are, and they're another very wealthy donors that do all these things. Yes, he's that wealthy, and he's not. It's not a secret. You can Google him, and you can find almost every organization he is a part of. Right here in Florida, Gillum proudly stated how he got Soros money. There have been articles written how much money he has put into attorney general races across the country over the past few years, and he's winning them. See, they're at the bottom level now. They figured out maybe we can't do it from the top level. Let's work it from the bottom level. So they're getting into mayor races and attorney general races, and they're influencing with their money for their agenda. It is not a secret. We can say Soros because it's out there.
Says Google says he's worth 8.3 billion, and Google doesn't ever lie.
Now look up the Steyers. See how much the Steyers are worth. Tom Steyer.
Do you want to venture a guess as to how much money Jeff Bezos has?
No, you can tell me though.
145 billion.
Not shocked. Not shocked. It seems like all the elitists are on the left, aren't they? All the 1%ers are on the left.
How do you spell Steyer?
Steyer.
Okay. Tom Steyer? No.
Yeah.
Tom Steyer. 1.6 billion. Nothing.
Yeah. Not as wealthy as Soros, but he's still out there. And he's another one that's very open about what he donates to, what his interests are, what their agenda is.
Sheldon Adelson. Do you know that name?
Oh, yes. Yep. He's on our side. He's a conservative. Yeah. But I don't seem to see where his money's going. We don't hear too much about that. I like to say that the Republicans with all the money or the conservatives with all the money, they have short arms when the check comes. Because
what does that mean?
That means that that means that in 2016, like I always say, it was the hard work of working Americans, the deplorables who did all the work to get their president elected. And we're doing it again for the midterms. I don't see any big money being injected into what we want done. We're fighting every day. You know, you have people with their internet shows or they're out. Look at Scott Pressler. I take my hat off to him. He's everywhere. How much money is the RNC helping him travel the country and knock on doors?
I know. Yeah. He's going to be, he'll be speaking at the Walkway March on Washington.
Thank God. I mean, he's really, but you look at somebody like him, and then if he was on the left, imagine how much would be put behind him to knock on the doors.
Yeah, I mean, he would be like he's like David Hogg on our side, but no one gives him any love or money.
No, David Hogg came out like the slingshot. Within 2 days, there were fancy websites. There were buses organized. There was a name for their organization, March for Our Lives. This was done virtually overnight.
Yeah.
It's spooky. Very spooky.
While they were mourning.
While they were mourning. And then when you start to really dig deep and look at the organizations that help build up these things, you just follow the money. Always follow the money.
I love Scott Pressler. Some of the comments here, they're talking about how great Scott is. Scott is great, and I have to say, he's been very cooperative with me, and we've had a really great kind of working relationship and interpersonal dynamic, and which I think is so cool because I like it when conservatives work together, and I like it when gay conservatives work together. I would like to see more of that spirit of cooperation amongst the gay conservatives.
Yeah, he's really remarkable.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome. Maria, what else we got to tell the people? We're going on like a 5-hour show now.
That's it, baby. That's it. That was my big, I thought that was pretty big scandalous news. And I hope everybody goes and finds it, read it for yourself, and see what you think, and pre-order the book. If this is something I'm going to get this book, with my feet up and a highlighter, because I want to see all the documents that they have in this book, all the sources, all the documents. And I want to just wait and see how long it takes to filter up to the mainstream media. You know, the mainstream media that none of us trust, but nobody will believe it until the non-trustworthy mainstream media reports it. That's the strange thing about the brainwashing of mainstream media. We all know we don't trust it, but we won't talk about it until it's on Fox or on CNN. It's you really have to think about that.
Yeah. All right, Maria, let's do a quick recap of a few things. First of all, there's one thing I think I didn't tell people earlier in the show, so I want to tell everybody now. We're running a contest. We're giving away 2 VIP gala dinner tickets. That's a $700 value. All you have to do is text the word gala to 51400. The drawing is going to happen tomorrow, so you have about 24 hours to get in there. It does cost $10 per entry, but you have a chance of winning a $700 value, which is 2 tickets to the VIP gala dinner for the Walkway March on Washington weekend. It's going to be incredible. It's like a 3-course dinner. We're doing filet and lobster on the same plate. Filet and lobster, 3-course dinner, dancing, drinking, music. You're going to have the VIP red carpet experience at the beginning with our conservelebrities. It's going to be amazing. Please consider making a donation to the GoFundMe or PayPal for the Walkaway campaign. We've got the Walkaway campaign GoFundMe, or you can paypal.me/US minority. Rob and my producer, Rob Hix, who puts together a wonderful show every week. Rob's amazing. He does have a voice, and he does exist. And one day you're going to hear it. You might even see him someday. But for the moment, he's going to be like Snuffleupagus. Rob does an amazing job. And, you know, Rob produces a lot of shows, by the way. Check out, Rob, is there like Hix, what is it, Hix Productions? Do you have a website? Hixvideo, that's what I meant. Hixvideo. Do you have a website where they can see all the shows you produce? Okay. Hixvideo does Diamond and Silk. He works for me, David Harris Jr. He doesn't work for me. He works with me. We produce this show together. He works for me. I'm just kidding. And what else? Walkway. Go to walkwaymarch.com if you want to find out the route for the Walkway March on Washington weekend. We have pretty much all the details of the whole weekend up on walkwaymarch.com. And if you'd like to contribute, that's what I was saying, Rob and I, you could contribute to our Patreon account. That's US Minority. If you look up Patreon, there's that. Super Chat is always a great option. We're closing out the show, so maybe for next week. And I hope to see all of you at the Walkway March on Washington this weekend in D.C. This Saturday, go to walkwaymarch.com. You'll get all the details. I think that's all I've got for you this evening, and I'm just going to let you know this is Brandon Straka, and I'm walking away, and I encourage all of you to do the same. Walk away. We'll see you next week, and by the time I see you next week, we'll have already done the Walkway March on Washington. It's going to be amazing. Have a great night, Patriots. Take care. Mwah.